will be your spirit guide today through the support group conversation. I want to encourage you all to add questions to the doc. I will call on you to vocalize them, and we'll go from there. I saw somebody added some easy ones at the top there that I can answer. I'll start out with what did I have for breakfast? That was a great easy one. Thanks to whoever added that. And I had shakshuka. It's incredible. If you've never had it, I'll share a link to a recipe in here. It's great. The next question on the agenda that I see that I want to address is how will support work at Contribute? This is a great question, and I want to take a second to talk about it. While we are at Contribute, the support team has a schedule which will cover most of the waking hours of Prague. We have a couple of support team members, a small crew around the world that will not be at Contribute, who will be providing normal coverage. With that, I want to take a second. If you work with clients, if you work with customers, try and make sure they're not doing any big, large, heavy lifting or any drastic changes to their infrastructure during Contribute. It will be a challenge. So we want to make sure that we prepare as much as we can to support our customers as best as possible. So work with support if you have anything that's pressing. If not, see if we can schedule around Contribute. That will be a huge help to support and a better experience for your customers. Sid, I want to turn it over to you to vocalize yours, if you have anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, we recently had the key meeting for support. I put a link in the doc, but just want to repeat what I said there. Great results on SLA, support satisfaction, and kind of spend as a percentage of revenue. Support is doing awesome. And I want to call that out. That's all.
Thank you, Sid. Appreciate you vocalizing that. Jamie, would you like to vocalize your question?
Sure. Thanks, Lee. First, I just wanted to thank probably more folks than I can remember to name for addressing this past weekend's high priority incident involving a customer. Great job there, and thank you all for the hard work, particularly Lyle. I'll call him out. But I was curious as to the group's thoughts on increasing our coverage for at least high priority issues for .con customers to 24/7.
Thanks, Jamie. This is a great question. This is something that we've had informal conversations about, but I do think we are at the size and scale where we do need to formalize that. So what I would like to do is to ask you to make an issue on support team Meta, ping the support managers there, and we can add that to our support leadership agenda. I think that is something that we need to scale for sure. Thanks for raising it, Jamie.
Thanks.
Awesome. On that, Emily, I think you have the next one up. Would you like to vocalize?
Yeah, thanks. So I think support was the first group to have a totally separate instance of an application they use with the Zendesk Federal instance. I'm curious how that's going, how that feels. What are the biggest hiccups you've had, if anything comes to mind?
Sure. I will take 1 second to talk on that. And then I have Jason, another support engineering manager here, who has been more involved with that. So he may be able to provide a little bit more color. And I see Greg in the doc on the support engineering team sharing some of his thoughts, which I think is very helpful as well. I'll vocalize them. One, the two instances is two places to look, so that's been a little bit challenging. We do need that demarcation, so that's something that we have Slack alerts and things like that that have been helpful. The biggest challenge, I think, has been data integrity around licenses. This is a challenge that we've had with our regular instance, and now we have to scale that to work with a second federal instance. And the technology we use will only allow us to sync Salesforce to one Zendesk. So we're now exploring how do we synchronize the appropriate data to the appropriate Zendesks to keep that demarcation. So short answer, not without challenges. Jason, I'll turn it over to you to add any more color that you'd like to add.
Cool, thanks, Lee. So as Greg is mentioning in there, sometimes it's difficult to communicate priority impact of issues. Sometimes it's difficult to even like talk about the tickets because they are a very special class of customer where we have to restrict the data flow. We have issues of we can't talk about it in public channels. We have to be super vague when we're mentioning them and like issues to devs for bugs or stuff. So we ended up having things of a customer is having this issue. Can you link the ticket? No, we can't. Beyond that, like Lee said, there's some data integrity issues we're working through. The Salesforce Zendesk sync integration is a one-to-one relationship. So one Zendesk instance to one Salesforce. Unfortunately, that means there is no sync mechanism on federal at the current time. I'm working with support ops and we're developing a sync mechanism that will end up running on a CI/CD job probably in the ops instance or something along those lines where it's very secure to actually get that done so that we can have that in a more fluid sense instead of the current method, which is, can you do this thing? Yes, I'll do it manually. And that's kind of the method we're at right now. Beyond that, it's going pretty well. The volume's actually starting to pick up a little. I think we broke 60 tickets this week, so hooray. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any other questions anyone might have about it.
Yeah, I'm if I don't see anything else in the doc, so I'm going to ask a follow-up here and then I'll type it up. But I'm curious, how does like for people who are manning support during certain hours, like is coverage different for people who have the federal instance, or are you expected to just have those two screens open? Like, what does the practical piece of that look like?
So the current method is we do have a Slack channel that's private that only US citizens who can access the federal instance can access. It posts in there when a ticket is created or updated. We're currently using that as a method of there's no reason to check the instance unless you see that channel light up, at which point we know a ticket has been created or updated. So a lot of it's just staying vigilant on that channel. I myself have set up that channel to literally alert me every time it goes off, which is sometimes annoying, sometimes great.
Also the coverage on those tickets is only 5x8. So
yeah.
Weekdays during like US working hours.
Yeah, that one's not 24/5 like our regular instance. That one is very specific business hours, and it's basically during the standard America support coverage hours. Because of the restriction that it has to be US citizens, we kind of had to limit that of, okay, we're not going to have US citizens working at 2 a.m, most likely, unless you have insomnia like me. So
cool, awesome, thank you.
Great questions, Emily. Thank you. Others, if you have some questions, feel free to add them to the doc and we will talk about them.
So while we wait for some people to add their questions to the doc, I'll just go over what I've added to the conversation. I have found that it is difficult to communicate priority and impact for US federal customers. I know we have an automation where if you link a Zendesk ticket in the body of an issue, it gives it higher priority. Linking tickets for US federal customers is not an option. And really any identifiable information that surrounding the issue or troubleshooting it has to be completely redacted and anonymized. So that can make it difficult to communicate impact and priority for large customers if they are US federal. Additionally, support troubleshooting resources seem to be limited for this type of customer because they have very strict network security policies. So getting log data or getting configuration information can be difficult to impossible for this type of customer, whereas normal customers in the regular Zendesk for support, this is a standard working process where we ask for that type of material.
That's a really useful detail. Thanks for sharing, Greg.
Appreciate it.
I can say from personal experience, a lot of the bugs or feature requests and stuff we've submitted for federal has a bunch of GitLab data that is not from the federal. It's literally us spinning up a GitLab, replicating it 100%, and then giving our data. That way, if devs need it, we can be like, here's our instance that we can use, but we cannot ask the customer to actually provide anything here.
It often feels like trying to describe a problem while not being able to look at it. So it feels like being a phone doctor. You have to listen to the cough and see if you could tell if it's the flu or a common cold. but we're getting better over time. Any other questions, team? If not, I'll give you some time back in your day.
Haley, I actually have one quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
So, in the POV process and pre-sales, there are certain times when we need to, submit support tickets, and they do that through the trials email address, and that's super valuable to us. My concern is that, as we do more and more of these, it's going to be very taxing on support, and I'd like to get some data around, how many of those have been submitted as part of trials, so that we can get, better analysis and, how often this is happening, so that we can, start to understand what we need to do in the future to make sure we're supporting those. Is that something we pull data from Zendesk, or is it something we can get into, I don't know, any other tools to see that data? Or is it
Sure? Great question, Brian. I 100% think we can get some of that data, right? I think I don't know if we have the data integrity that we need yet, but around trials, but I think we can. I want to encourage you to create an issue and support Team Meta, tag myself, Lee Matos, and Ilya. Ilya is also on the call. He's one of the data wranglers in Zendesk. Both of us, I'm sure, would be very interested to get involved in that with you. That would help us to get more clarity, will help you. So that's a great question. And that is something that we do want to understand. So yeah, thank you.
Will do.
Awesome. And for greater context, for the rest of people on the call, one of the things as customers, as prospects begin to trial, one of the things that we have to do is make sure that they're appropriately set up in Salesforce and Zendesk so that we can give them the right level of support for their trial, which when we do that, we should be able to identify that data and get the data that Brian's looking for. How often are we doing that? What's the volume, et cetera, et cetera? How successful are we, right? That's a great question as well to ask. Are these working well? So great. Mech, I see you raising something.
Sure, I'll localize. So just to help socialize here as well, there's another collaboration with Quality that support is doing. So we're going to deprecate the legacy support forum and point the users to the actual support forum that we have people looking at, and also have them open bugs instead in the main GitLab. We're collaborating closely with both Lyle and Cynthia on this on the support side.
Thanks, Mech. I'm really happy to hear this, and I appreciate the collaboration on that. So awesome. Thank you. I'm feeling like the seas have calmed. The tide has rolled in. We're sitting on a dock in the bay. Group conversation. I think we've done it, team. If there are no last questions, I would like to wrap this up. I hope you enjoy your Tuesday. I hope you have a great Tuesday. Thank you all for the great questions, for contributing, working all. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.